about the restoration of our republic. We want to educate, encourage, enable the power. We stand for integrity, honesty, self-reliance, self-defense, and most importantly, no compromise on our foundational principles. This is America's Voice Now.
Find America's Voice Now on Facebook and at americasvoicenow.org. Here's Michael Evans.
Good morning, America. You're listening to America's Voice Now. My name is Michael Evans. I'll be your host this morning, and I'm your host every morning. We want to bring on a special guest this morning for an interview who is from Infowars. The gentleman's name is Dan Bidondi, and many of you know that this interview is coming. You know, Dan was instrumental in trying to open up the American public's eyes to what transpired in Boston, and with the relationship of the issues surrounding how Boston was turned into, for all intents and purposes, a martial law city during the period that they were searching for the two brothers who were responsible for the bombing. There was a lot of information that came out during that period that was pushed underneath the rug, if you will, and Dan was instrumental in bringing a lot of that out. He got a lot of flack over that, especially from the Secret Service and from federal agencies. And so I've asked him to come on board with us this morning and kind of give us an update on where things have gone with Boston, what's transpired as a result of that, now that we've had, a month or two to kind of absorb what's transpired there. But in addition to that, I also want to talk to Dan a little bit about what's happening with areas like the NSA surveillance program, the IRS debacle, and some other issues. So, including what's happening over in Europe and how we're being perceived over there by a lot of our European partners. So, good morning, Dan. How are you?
Hey, good morning. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you. Where are you from, Dan, by the way?
I'm from Providence, Rhode Island.
Okay. I was going to say I recognize that accent, and I'm an old Jersey boy. So.
Oh, okay.
I thought I recognized that accent coming out of you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Hey, all us East Coast guys are alike, right?
Yep.
At least that's what they tell us here in the Midwest. So,
yeah.
Dan, you were instrumental in a lot of what transpired and blowing the hole open on this Boston thing. And I wanted you to kind of give our listenership an update as to where that's gone since then. I know that you had some photographs early on that were really instrumental in kind of identifying some of the holes that were in the official story, if you will, right? So maybe you can.
The photograph was a bomb, in that paraphrasing, the photograph we revealed was like a nuclear bomb to the establishment.
Yeah. Well, you caught a lot of flack from a lot of the federal agents there, including Secret Service, which I'm a little surprised that Secret Service happened to land on the scene so quickly. Ordinarily, an event like this would not justify Secret Service involvement unless there was some kind of presidential involvement, right? Or other high-level official that's under Secret Service detail. So when Secret Service shows up at an event like this, it makes you wonder what's the real issues that are going on here and who's really in control. So I know that Secret Service was pretty, vocal about your involvement and pushed back pretty hard about blocking you from getting the word out. So kind of give us an update on that.
Well, there was two events. 3 press conferences. There was 2 Monday night of the day of the bombing, and there was another one Wednesday, but it got rescheduled for Thursday. And I'll tell you the reason why. Because of that. Well, anyway, after the bombing, I got a call from Alex and John Bowen telling me to get to Boston because I forgot about the Boston Marathon. And they said there was explosions up there, and Alex already told people before that. He says, I have some bad feeling that something's going to happen today. And being a Patriot Day, and we know the establishment, they love nothing more than going on their own holidays or whatever and smacking us in the face with it. So they knew it was something significant even before anything took place. There was many announcements were made. I got up there to Boston about, I'd say about an hour and a half later, and, you know, it was still a little chaos going on over there. Just did some video footage, and it was a police state. I mean, you couldn't even go to a hotel or a store without being searched.
Right.
And they were searching people's bags. They were going through corrals, military and police, and federal agents all working together, you know, going in and out of corrals of buildings, looking at people's cars. I mean, it was chaos. And they called for the press conference, and they let me know when the press conference was. I went to the first press conference, and basically I was asking, because the Boston Globe tweeted that there was drills being done that day. But the thing is, before they pulled the tweet down, over 3,000 people, 3,000 or 4,000 people retweeted that.
Right.
So we had confirmation, yes, that you tweeted this. And it was taken down real quick. And I even called the Boston Globe, you know, a couple of days later, and a woman, she tried to deny it, and I sent her the screenshots, and she basically said, well, we'll get to the bottom on who put that out. You know, then you're just trying to whitewash it, you know. And,
sure.
And also the Local 15 News reported that there was people on the finish line stating that even, you know, high-testable people like coaches and whatnot saying, you know, moments before the bombs went off, there was announcements being made, everybody stay calm, this is just a drill.
Really?
Now, I think these are the two questions I asked. You
Right.
know, not coming from us, because people call you a conspiracy theorist. No, this is Local 15 News and also the Boston Globe reporting this. These are the two questions I asked.
Now, did you ever get an official answer to that question? I mean, either publicly or privately?
No, the only one who gave me a good answer was the Boston police commissioner.
Okay.
Now, he was the only one who stated, he even admitted on the video, he stated, because we got this on video too, he stated, yes, they were doing drills in preparation for this.
Okay. Did he do that publicly or off the record with you?
That was on publicly at the press conference. And
Okay.
He basically stated, yeah, it's normal standard operations and procedures. And the governor, you know, Patrick DeVault, he just goes, no, and next question, you know. And,
I heard him, yeah.
Yeah, then the next press conference about an hour and a half later, and basically I just wanted to know, is this a false flag? You know, I asked him, is this a false flag in an attempt to take our civil liberties and put more homeland security in the street, known as TSA, to stick their hands down our pants?
Right.
And that's when the governor, again, he just looks at me, he goes, no, next question. And
he was pretty dismissive.
Oh, yeah. He gave me the people's eyebrow, you know.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah,
I got the look of death from people, and the federal agents especially. And, you know, that twit there in the suit, you know, the federal agent just gives you this look of, how dare you say that, you know. And,
yeah.
And false flag, the word false flag was the #1 Google search term of that night. And basically it spiked Google.
Right.
But Google had a record high of people going on to Google to search something.
If nothing else, it awoke millions of Americans to what a false flag is, and suddenly they start questioning in their own minds, maybe there is stuff that happens like that, you know? Because there are millions, literally, hundreds of millions who are asleep yet. And so, you know, the truth is that I'm all for waking people up, even sometimes rudely if necessary. And that was one way to, you know, you accomplish that, if nothing else, that a lot of Americans began to question, well, I never heard the term false flag before. And so they go out there and they do some searching on it and realize that, you know, I mean, ultimately a lot of them may turn it off and say, that's just conspiracy tinfoil hat nonsense. But at the same time, there's quite a few, I'm sure, who there's going to have to be a percentage who say, wow, maybe we ought to look deeper into these things, you know? I've been talking about the NSA spying scandal and what they've been doing with this surveillance on Americans for, you know, I mean, I've been talking about this for 15 years. And, you know, everybody, well, not everybody, but a lot of folks have accused me of wearing a tinfoil hat on a routine basis. But then when Snowden came out here and broke this story on an international basis, suddenly tinfoil hats were in vogue and everybody wanted one. And, you know, now it's common knowledge that the NSA is doing exactly that which, you know, no literal republic government would allow. And not only are they doing it to us, but, well, they're doing it to their friends or our friends overseas. I mean, you know, it's one thing to spy on your enemies. It's another thing when your friends find out that you got their bedroom bugged. And, you know,
absolutely.
I mean, it's unconscionable.
Boston, and people forget about Boston. I think it was a year or two ago. It was over $50 million grant given to put video cameras all over downtown Boston.
Right. And every city is getting those grants, and every city is building up this control mechanism to monitor every move of every American, every moment or every waking minute of their lives. I mean, it won't be long until it'll be a federal demand and a dictate that we got to put cameras in our bathrooms, for crying out loud. We're going to take a break.
I'm sorry?
We're going to take a quick break. Can you ride with us through this break?
Sure.
Great.
No problem.
Folks, we're speaking with Dan Bidondi this morning. He is from Infowars. We'll be right back.
The Battery Station in West Plains is your headquarters for getting and being prepared. Natural disasters, civil unrest, personal and family protection, long-term sustenance, and most importantly, peace of mind. Berkey bottles and home-sized water purification systems, survival food, MREs, freeze-dried food, survival knives, lanterns, ammunition, military sleep system, and of course, batteries of all shapes and sizes. Take charge of your own survival and security. The Battery Station, 303 Washington and West Plains, 417-257-7799 or batterystation.com.
Having difficulty with your computer? Do you think it has a mind of its own? Well, don't be alarmed. This happens to everyone at some point in time. Worry no more. Computer Dave and Kyle can help you out with PC Geeks, a weekly show right here on 107.1 The Point. Tune in Thursdays at 1 o'clock to ask computer-related questions and listen to the web topic of the week. That's PC Geeks here on 107.1 The Point.
We are speaking this morning with Dan Bidondi. He is with Infowars. He's a reporter with that group. Excuse me. And he was on the scene in Boston when the Boston bombing occurred at the foot race. And he asked some uncomfortable questions of some folks that didn't really appreciate the idea that Americans could perceive and view what was going off in Boston as a false flag, and they didn't really approve of the idea that he was asking questions they weren't prepared to answer. Irrespective of whether you believe that the Boston bombing was, known about or advanced or even just ignored, the simple truth is we now know that an enormous amount of information has come out about how much information that the federal government had on these two guys, and what their actual knowledge and status was, and the fact that they ignored so many warning signs that if they really were interested in protecting us, they would have utilized, that capability to do so. And meanwhile, what they're doing is they're more interested in sniffing around your drawers with all of this surveillance and monitoring than they are in actually providing any level of security with it. I'm eternally surprised that most Americans don't even realize that the president has made a hands-off policy and statement on Muslim extremists and Islamic extremists because of the concept that they're being profiled. And so if they're really interested with all this surveillance on protecting us, why a complete washout on anyone that is of the Muslim faith, and why can't mosques and other areas where obviously those people reside be monitored by the NSA and the FBI and all these other agencies? In other words, they're only monitoring you, not the real risk. So we're back to Dan, and Dan, you the conference that you had on Thursday, tell us a little bit about where that went.
Well, Tuesday, where it led up to this, Tuesday, when I got the false flag out, Alex spent all day Tuesday long telling people, well, first he said Monday, right off the bat he said it was a false flag because all the signs were there. Then Tuesday, he spent all day exposing how they're going to go after the Patriot groups, because the first suspect the FBI came up with was this typical white guy with the beard, typical Tea Party-looking person.
Right.
They're going to go attack all the Patriot groups. And we spent, especially Alex, spent all day Tuesday, smashing us out for the media. They're going after the Patriot groups. We're exposing the Homeland Security's Endgame report, the Southern Poverty Law Center's report, FBI's Project Megiddo, where they openly state in the documents that Patriot groups, gun owners, conservatives, Ron Paul supporters, constitutionalists are all domestic terrorists, more of a threat than Al-Qaeda.
Right.
So
I remember, and I was stunned to hear writers on the left, of course, come out and, I mean, that one guy said he was actually hoping it turned out to be a right-wing conservative. I mean, the absurdity of that statement just shows you where their leanings are and how they perceive this, and us, frankly.
And that week there, too, is the battle reenactment anniversary of the first shot fired in the American Revolution, which was the Battle of Lexington and Greene in Massachusetts there. And it was Rhode Island and Massachusetts Oath Keepers. They have the annual rally there every year. But due to the Boston bombing, the city pulled the permit. They pulled the permit Tuesday. Off the Oath Keeper says, no, you can't be there, even though it's public property. You can't be there, and if you're there on that property, you're going to be arrested. Right. Because you're a patriot group, and we don't want to incite no violence. And the Oath Keepers went there anyway that week, but I was there, but none of them would cross the lines. And, the police were blocking it off because you're a patriot group, you can't go over there. So automatically the demonization of the patriot groups went everywhere.
Right.
Especially on the 2 Patriot Days there in Massachusetts. And basically Wednesday was a scheduled press conference. Now, since we blew the lid right off the FBI's plot. Wednesday's press conference was scheduled was postponed to Thursday. They said they got new information, new evidence. So right off the bat, we went on record to tell people, Alex, that they're going to go to Plan B, which they're going to set up. All the patsies are patsy, and they forgot about that guy from the Middle East that they deported over. He was going to be Plan C. The last-ditch attempt, Al-Qaeda did it. It's the last cop-out excuse. But they moved to Plan B with these 2 brothers here to say, oh, these guys, we got footage, we got, the younger kid, the 19-year-old, he had a white backpack on, a white medium-sized backpack, and even after the bombs went off, he left the scene still with his backpack on. Mm-hmm. And, then Thursday comes, and basically we printed out the pictures, and I got there with my camera guy, and I was waiting for my other buddy to arrive, and I was sitting there, and in the press conference right in the front row, there's some guy who was arguing behind me with another reporter saying, I need to sit here. I knew this guy was a Fed. So he sat right behind me. He's peeking over my shoulders every time I got a text message or I was talking to somebody. And as soon as my other friend arrives, he hands me these glossy, full-colored photos, 8x10s, and of the Kraft International agents being there. And right away he jumps off his chair, runs in the back, and says, where the FBI come out. Oh, they got pictures. And the woman who was running the press conference, she comes out and gets up on stage and says, excuse me, everybody, we need to delay this about 5 minutes. We got some last-minute details to go over. So, that being said, I knew exactly what that was about.
Yeah.
And I got this guy peeking over my shoulder in the back and everything else, and I'm trying to hide these pictures and from him seeing them. So anyway, when the press conference started, the FBI head of the FBI, whoever it was, I forgot his name, right away he stated, do not, I repeat, do not go to anybody else's information. Everybody's information is not credible, only ours is.
Right, I remember that.
Yep, and they want us to believe that, this is the FBI now. The first pictures that they revealed was fuzzy, dispixelated pictures. Now, this is the FBI that could target an ant from space in full digital clarity.
Sure.
So they want
and then here comes a guy out of the middle of nowhere with these 8x10 glossies that actually show faces, right?
Oh, absolutely. And then they contradict themselves. Nobody else's photos is credible, but they say we need you as a public, if you got pictures and video, to turn them into us so we can look at the evidence.
Right.
But anyway, when they were expecting me, because when I got there, a couple of cops asked me if I'm going to be a good boy today, joking around. So all eyes were on me, basically, to be aware of what I was going to do. So basically, when I get up to speak, all the mainstream media, they pan the cameras over to the right.
Right.
They were prepared for, and they were trying to block me out. But, me having a loud voice, I yelled it out, and I'm trying to hold these pictures up. And the guy behind me jumps up, the Fed. He's trying to block the pictures with his clipboard. But, I got 2 hands, so I'm, showing the pictures. And they tried to ignore me, and I kept hitting them with it. And basically, right after the press, the woman jumps on stage, press conference is over. They shut down the press conference again because they got caught with their pants down. And right away, federal agents and Obama's Secret Service guy, they stormed me. They surrounded me and everything else. And I told them right out, I'm not afraid of you scum, because They had told them there's a revolution coming your way, and when this revolution's over, you people going to jail for, treason and murder and everything else. And basically, I showed no intimidation with these people. And they said, well, we're not afraid of you either. I said, well, you better be afraid because with the revolution thing, whatever, but, liberty and everything else. And when the mainstream media, some of the mainstream media in all the forum media came bombarding me. When they came over, I was surrounded by all these agents. When they came over, they scattered like a bunch of cockroaches that they are. They scattered, and I was showing them the pictures. That's at Infowars.com. You can see these pictures on. We got more hits. Not that it was a publicity stunt. It's because we were showing the pictures out. Our servers are almost cooking because we set a record basically of more. We get hundreds of thousands of hits a minute.
Right. Trying to capture those images, sure.
Yep, and people from all over the world, not just the United States, but all over the world, were going to Infowars.com, just like Monday night they were going to Google to see, they went to Infowars, too, to see who this reporter is, Dan Bidondi and Alex Jones, and then Thursday the same thing. Let's go to Infowars.com and see these pictures, and we got tens of millions of hits in a day or two, and people were just looking at these pictures. And the thing is, people, even the people don't come out to say, oh, yeah, this is false flag, but it made them question. And when I hold the pictures up, I'm questioning them. Who are these agents?
Right.
Who are these people running security? They were giving police and military orders. They were hiding in the crowds of places. They were up on roofs with spot shooters. They're all over the place.
Right.
And they had the same backpacks as the ones that blew up.
Well, you got to wonder. So let me ask you something. In reference to the two brothers, the Tsarnaev brothers, do you believe that they were involved at all, or do you think that they were just guys that they threw to the wolves, if you will?
I believe they were involved in some extent to be there as patsies.
Right.
But the thing is, for placing a bomb, especially the 19-year-old, I really believe the 19-year-old had nothing to do with this at all. And he was there, and they were told to be there. But as far as the explosions, he had nothing to do with that. Now,
we haven't heard anything from the younger brother. Who's in custody, right? So, there's been no releases about him at all. It's almost like there's no, it's like, okay, move along, there's nothing to see here kind of attitude. So, what have you heard as a reporter going back in and trying to dig up information or get in contact with, is anybody allowed contact with him? Is any?
Not at all.
Yeah.
Right away I told people they're going to seduce the guy. They're going to drug him up and everything so he can't talk. Just in case another federal agency steps in, he can't talk. No, he's drugged up. You don't know what he's talking about. Right away, they said they got him in the hospital, and he's heavily sedated on the drugs.
Right. Well, yeah, but those wounds have got to have been healed by now, right?
Oh, yeah.
He's got to be in some kind of a holding tank somewhere. And, the question at this point is, what are they going to do with him, right? Because they're either going to have to put him on a trial for murder in a constitutional court, or they're going to have to try him as a terrorist under a military tribunal thing. The question is, who can get to him to find out and interview him? Is there any? Have you guys tried that at all?
No, to get anywhere near there is just near impossible. Especially if you did, I'm sure you'd be whitewashed even being there. And they use psychotropic drugs, and basically they make him believe that he did it. They'll make him believe that he's the one who planted every one of those bombs, and he's the one who made the bombs. He's, because of the psychology they use, the psyop they use with psychotropic drugs, they'll make you believe that you built the George Washington Bridge, even though you wasn't born at the time. And these people are great with doing that. This way, if another federal agency steps in, the guy will go along with everything because he's been massively mind controlled. When you say mind control, people, it's conspiracy. But if you look at the MK Ultra and all these other agencies that openly admit in their documents they use mind control and drugs and everything to beat stuff out of terrorists. It's just they openly state this stuff, but when you bring it to light, you're a conspiracy theorist.
Sure, I got you. Well, listen, I want to thank you very much for joining with us this morning and kind of giving us an update. It's going to be interesting to see how this thing moves forward and what they do with this guy as they have to bring him public at some point. They can only keep him under wraps under the argument that he's wounded for so long. I mean, wounds heal, right? Even if you've been shot. So
well, the thing is, like, they want us to believe that he's in the boat. Now he's got he's bleeding in the boat, and he's in the black, dark boat. I'm sorry, and they want us to believe that he wrote his confession letter. He happened to have a piece of paper and a marker, or whatever, to write his confession letter. Yeah. Why he's bleeding and under heavy surveillance by the cops.
I got you. Well, listen,
it's just like crazy.
I want to thank you very much for taking the time to join us this morning. I appreciate it. You have yourself a great day, and we'll talk with you soon.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. Folks, we'll be right back.
Fox News Radio. I'm Chris Foster. Brazil and India. Now 2 more countries rejecting asylum requests from the NSA leaker Edward Snowden.
Snowden, who has been holed up in Moscow Sheremetyevo Airport in a sort of diplomatic limbo for more than a week, has applied for asylum here in Russia, but quickly withdrew his application after President Vladimir Putin said he'd have to stop leaking America's secrets if he wants to stay here.
Fox News Radio's Jessica Gallagher in Moscow. More surgery today for a 10-year-old Pennsylvania girl whose parents sued to get her on an adult lung donor list. Sarah Murnahan has cystic fibrosis. In Las Vegas,
guilty of second-degree murder.
A former doctor convicted of criminal charges in a hepatitis C outbreak in 2007. The investigation found unsafe practices at Deepak Desai's clinic, with health officials telling 63,000 patients to get tested. At least one of them died.